Okay, so this video is going to be a continuation of the previous one, and essentially what we're going to do here is make it so that the obby, what will happen is if you join and leave the game, your data will save. Right now you're on stage 2, but if you're to leave the game and join back, you'll see that you spawn back on stage 1. Firstly, if you didn't follow the first video, we had this script here in server script service, as well as the checkpoint parts. So just make sure either to copy this or go back and watch the first video. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to create a new script. So we're going to create a new script here, and you can call it whatever you want. Once again, for consistency, I'm going to call it Datastore Script. And the first thing we're going to want to do here is to get a reference to the DataStoreService, because we're going to be calling the Roblox API to be able to use their DataStoreService, because we have to store the data somewhere, right? So copy this code, local DataStoreService, GetService, and then DataStoreService. So this will let us use the Roblox DataStoreService. And the second thing is we're going to want to create a data store of our own, so that we can have something to refer to every time we want to access the data that we're storing. So now that we have that done, we're going to want to get to the main part. So the first part is going to be around what happens when the players join, right? Because there's going to be 2 steps to it. So when a player joins and when a player leaves. The first part is going to be when the player joins. So to do that, we're going to use the same thing we used last time. Yep, game.Players.PlayerAdded. And then we're going to want to connect this to a function to run every time a new player joins the game. And the first thing we're going to want to do here is to see if we can get the data that already exists. So this is the code you're going to need for that. And essentially all of this here is pretty much just error handling. You don't need to worry about that. It's going to make sure that it runs smoothly and that no issues occur. And the second thing actually is, remember how in the old code we had everything here and we created everything here? What we're going to do here is we're going to change it. So we're going to take this away from here and actually make it so everything is created here. So we're going to create the leader stats and the stage here. They're going to be here, and since it's all created directly under the player, it doesn't matter which script it's in. And once more, what we're going to do here is we're going to do some more error handling. We're essentially just making sure everything runs correctly, and if the player doesn't have any data, we're going to set their stage to 1, and if they do have data, we're going to set it to whatever their stage number was. And also we're going to create this boolean here, so this doesn't really do anything, but it's just a way that we can check in the other script if the data is loaded, so that we don't load the data too quickly. Now, so this is basically pretty much everything that happens upon a load. So the game will check if the player has any data, and if they do, it'll load it correctly. The second thing we want to do is actually make it work so that if the player leaves, it actually saves the data, because there's going to be no purpose in actually saving the data if there is no data to load. So to do that, we're going to run this. Game.Players. Instead of player adding, we're going to do player removing. So once again, we're going to connect this to a function here to run every time a player is removed or leaves the game. And what we're going to do here is we're going to create a table, and in this table we are going to create a single value, the stage, and we're going to take the value of the player stage. So this will make it so that we have, because to save it to Roblox, we need to save it as a table. So this will just give that to Roblox and we'll be able to run it. The second thing we want is, once again, there's a lot of error handling when we're talking about data stores. So you're going to want this code as well here. And once again, this code is pretty much just making sure it goes correctly. And then if it does, it'll tell us it worked correctly. If not, it'll print an error message, but the user does not have to worry about that. And realistically, this should do it for the most part for joining and leaving. But there's one more thing. In case the game crashes, you need a way to still save their data so not everything gets deleted. So to do that, we're going to run this code right here. So essentially, when the game crashes, the game server crashes, all the players in the server are going to kick them, and it's going to save their data. And now that this part of the code is done, so this is going to essentially create new leader stats and a new stage value. And now what we're going to have to do is go back to the first code, and we're going to have to edit that slightly. So first of all, since everything's being created over here, we no longer need to create everything here. And instead, we just want to wait and find the data that's already going to be created over there. To do that, since we already have the leader stats and stage defined up here, we're just going to say leader stats is equal to player, wait for child, and leader stats. So what this is going to do is it's going to wait over here. So when the player gets added, it's going to wait for the leader stats folder to pop up. And then from there, now it's going to have a reference to that. And similarly, you're going to do the exact same thing for the stage. Stage is equal to leader stats, wait for child, stage. And then in a similar fashion to what we did last time, you just set first load to false. And there's one more thing you have to do. You have to go to File, Experience Settings, Security, and turn this on. This will allow us to use, because we're not saving the data on our computers, we're saving it on the Roblox servers. So this will allow us to use those Roblox servers. And now everything should be working. So if you join, this is stage 1. Update to stage 2, and we know it works from the last video. So if we leave and then rejoin, we should load on stage 2. Stage 3, same thing. Alright, thank you for watching this video. And if anything didn't work properly, make sure to leave it in the comment. For the next video, we're going to focus on the player and checkpoint direction. Like if you had to turn in your obby and you wanted the player to spawn this way, we'll fix that.